Hello, my darlings. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Maria. This channel is about spirituality, all things consciousness, mysteries of the universe. Welcome, welcome. Please subscribe to see more content like this one. Today, we're going to be talking about healing your emotional body. The state of your emotional body is one of the things that is most correlated to leading a happy, healthy, fulfilling life. And yet, as we go through human experience, time and time again, we get bombarded with emotions and feelings that we are either not adept at processing or are overwhelmed by. And so as we go through life, it can become harder, actually, to keep going and keep the good spirits up if your emotional body is not on board with this idea. So today we're going to examine just a few things from the spiritual level, from the level of energy, of what happens with the emotional body when you're feeling down or when you're carrying a lot of emotional toxicity inside of your emotional body and the impact that has on the rest of your life. Most importantly, we're going to talk about how you can fix this, right? All right, so diving right in. The emotional body is your third body. So essentially you start on the physical level, then you have your energy body, energetic or etheric, then you have your emotional body. This is a very simplified way of thinking of the bodies, but it works. So for all of us as we go through life, we kind of, when we come into an incarnation, when we come into this body, we start with a blank slate as far as our emotional bodies. Granted, there is some karma, there is also some lineage imprint. There is an imprint from our ancestors that we carry within our personal auric field. However, we usually start from a blank slate, and then life happens. And life happens to each of us to varying degrees. Different people go through different sets of challenges, different experiences. And some of those experiences are more emotionally taxing than others. Either way, there would come a point in your life, probably, when your emotional body is just inundated with the negativity. A healthy emotional body is a construct, an energy construct, that operates like a sieve. So it's supposed to take in whatever is bombarding it from every which direction, take it in, and then release. Get really, really good at releasing things. So emotions, energy in motion, they're not supposed to be stagnant. They're not supposed to be static. They're not supposed to be suppressed. Now, of course, in reality, that is not what always happens. Sometimes when a negative emotion or an emotion that is overwhelming, doesn't have to be negative, it could just be overwhelming or like just unpleasant, can be too much. And when that happens, or when there's a lot of the emotion coming through, then our bodies become overwhelmed. Think about it this way. If you had a cup of any kind of emotion, you could probably handle it, regardless of what's inside. Cup of sorrow, cup of sadness, cup of joy. But imagine there was an ocean. An ocean of sadness or an ocean of sorrow is not quite so easy to process. So our emotional bodies have capacity. Capacity is essentially throughput, right? How much emotion can you take per second, let's say, or per minute? And depending on where your soul is in terms of its own personal evolutionary journey, as well as how open you have been to emotion in the first place in past lives and earlier in this life, your capacity for processing emotions could be quite different. So anytime we are faced with an ocean of emotion, overwhelm happens. But it happens even more so for people that don't tend to have a great ability or capacity for processing emotion. So what happens when you get bombarded with this ocean? Your body can take a little bit of it and your emotional body, and working as a sieve, it can accept some and release some. But what about the rest of the ocean? When your body is not adept at dealing with that avalanche of emotion, we usually pocket that for posterity. We usually kind of displace it, and instead of working through the emotion right now, we are pocketing it in a little cell within reality matrix of ours, our emotional reality. And that essentially becomes our emotional bookmark. The idea here is to come back to that ocean of emotion and process it at a later date. The problem with third dimensional worlds is there's a lot of happening here. There's a lot that's going on, right? And so you have the ocean of sorrow over here, the ocean of sadness, the ocean of heartbreak, like the ocean of hate, the ocean of jealousy. Do you know what I mean? And yet, like, life goes on. So today, you may still be bombarded with even more emotions and even more things to work through, but you still have old bookmarks or all of these unopened, all of these open tabs that you've never really bothered closing. And so what happens over time is your emotional body has to keep track of all of these pockets of reality, all of these pockets of emotion, all of these baby oceans that you have created around your own personal auric field, while also really focusing and honing in on the present, making sure that it is putting you in the right state of mind, in the right state, emotional state, in order to be able to process whatever comes your way. And so it's a lot of work, is my point. And so if you're looking to heal your emotional body, there are some dramatic things as well as maintenance things that you need to do in order to get yourself into a better place. What's the problem with an emotional body that is not operating at its full potential? When the emotional body is not operating at its full potential, certain orifices within that body, and here's like a really, really good way to imagine it. Like, think of an emotional body as a sphere of light. And imagine it having pores, like millions of different pores, kind of like your skin, you know, it has pores. So does your emotional body. Over time, when there's a lot of toxicity in your body, or when you choose not to process certain emotions become stuck. As they become stuck, they quite literally clog the little pores in your emotional body. And then there are fewer and fewer pores that are operational pores, and there are more and more pores that are clogged. As such, your capacity for processing emotion goes down. So we already are not in a good place because all of these orifices are stuck, and now you have even less throughput. So that is a recipe for disaster. That is how people get into states of anxiety. That is how people get into states of depression, etc., etc. That is how people get themselves into an emotional state or emotional states that they feel like they cannot pull themselves out of, and they get emotionally stuck. And again, being emotionally stuck on anything is not really healthy, nor is it a natural design of human beings. We are not meant to be emotionally static or stagnant. Quite the opposite is true. We're meant to be dynamic. We are meant to ebb and flow with the rest of the universe. When you're not ebb and flowing with the rest of the universe, you are going to feel strange. You're going to feel out of balance. You're going to feel like a fish out of water. So how do we get back to equilibrium here? How do we get back to a state of wholesomeness and a state of healing? Here's one thing that you should know. Remember how I told you about all of these oceans of emotion that you pocketed because you didn't want to deal with them? So here's what happens. And by the way, if you would like to follow along what I'm saying with your third eye, you may close your eyes right now for just a few seconds. Activate your third eye by imagining a pulsating violet light here in the third, in the brow chakra area over here, and just imagine what I'm saying. So, an emotional body that is non-healed, one of the most obvious signs, and one of the things that I see at the energy level, looks like this. You have the sphere of light that represents your emotional body. And then it has these black craters all over its surface. These black craters, they can be vortexes, or they can just be something that like stuck emotion feels like a plug, like darkness just plugged itself into the surface of this beautiful sphere of light. And all of these dark spots, each of these vortexes or each of these plugs represents a particular kind of emotion that is stuck in your emotional body that you are not able to process. Over time, if that emotion is too persistent in your body, it starts eroding the surface completely. And then it feels like somebody literally took a chunk out of your emotional body. And so if this deteriorates further, if this gets worse, then instead of having one holistic sphere of light in your emotional body, you're going to feel like the surface of your body, emotional body, has been like eaten up by this darkness. Now, we can also go through like a little bit of an emotional healing today during this session. You can fix this, you guys. This is not a predicament. This is not doomsday scenario. And by the way, most humans have their emotional bodies being in a state of disarray to some degree. That is unfortunately the status quo is completely quote unquote normal on planet Earth. So what you would want to imagine, right, if you're noticing all of this darkness, you want to imagine little globules of white light or golden light. Let's use golden light for this. I love the golden light or golden flame. It's really, really good for healing. Golden flame is very often considered the flame of resurrection, and as such, it is the flame that brings you back to the perfect state of something. So I love working with the golden flame energies. So imagine that there are like this little golden globules of light flying around. And so send them through the darkness that is eating away from your emotional body. And then imagine them encapsulating that darkness and removing that darkness away from the body of light that your emotional body is. So, you would want to spend a few seconds or minutes here making sure that the golden spheres are doing their job. And then the next thing that you would want to do once there's no darkness that remains, right? So you want to keep taking and eating away negativity using the golden flame as much as possible. And then you would want to rebuild the missing parts of the body, bringing it back to a state of wholesomeness, bringing it back to a perfect sphere once again. And so what you would want to imagine is that there are little globules of white light now streaming towards your emotional body, and they are filling in the gaps that used to be darkness with their own energy. And so it's like these little globules of white light are coming in through all angles and inserting themselves inside of your emotional body. And as such, what you're witnessing is that your emotional body is coming back into wholeness. It's coming back into its state of fullness, right? Another thing that you may want to pay attention to is this. There are some fissures and cracks at the very surface of your emotional body. What are cracks? Cracks are traumatic experiences, emotionally traumatic, where you get hit with a piece of news out of nowhere. So if you literally didn't see it coming, if something happened in your life and it was out of nowhere, like you could have not predicted it, it may create a crack in the surface of your emotional body because you get into like it's like the deer in the headlights moment emotionally. For a few seconds you're not quite sure what to feel because you're just so taken aback. In those moments, there are little fissures and cracks that are created at the very surface of your emotional body. So what you would want to do is you would want to imagine white light kind of like floating over and like glossing over these fissures and cracks and smoothing them, because you want to make sure that the surface is as smooth, as pristine as possible. Because the crack can get exacerbated over time. It's not ideal to have cracks in your emotional body. It's kind of like having a crack in your armor. Over time, let's just say it's a less than ideal state. And a crack can turn into like a complete rupture. And, that is just not good for anybody. Another thing that I recommend you do when healing your emotional body is this. Our emotional bodies need detox time. I think that is a very familiar concept for a lot of people when you're thinking about your physical bodies. You're like, okay, well, let me take my body to the beach for it to detox. Let me take my body to the spa. It needs a little massage, it needs maybe a bath. So we are a little bit more wired to take care of our physical bodies, although, I can make a whole separate video about building a relationship with your physical body. I think the relationship of humanity with the physical body is quite dire, to be honest. So actually, if you want me to make that video, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to. Since today we're talking about the emotional body, it requires a detox just as much as your physical body does, because all of our bodies, despite the fact that some of them may be invisible, are going through and experiencing wear and tear in the same way that our physical bodies are, and sometimes even to a much worse degree. So what does your emotional body like? Your emotional body is water, because emotions are water. Its favorite detox is actually taking an energetic bath. The best and my favorite flame and my favorite energy to work with in order to detox my emotional body is the violet flame. The violet flame is extremely popular in certain circles. And yeah, it's the flame that people are aware of, a flame of transmutation. So anytime you're trying to transmute certain dark energies into light, you would, inevitably probably want to use the violet flame. So here's how you would detox your emotional body. You would, in a meditative state, you would close your eyes. You would focus on your emotional body being the sphere of light. And then you would imagine that in front of you, there is a purple tub filled with the waters of the purple flame. Please bear with me here. Purple flame is a flame energy, but higher frequency flames can double down and operate like water and like light. So your higher dimensional flames have multiple states, multiple aspects to them, right? So they can be plasma, which is fire. They can be water. They can be light, which is a little like more dispersed form of fire, I guess, energies as well. They can come across as air as well. So there are many ways to skin the cat. In this particular instance, you would imagine that the water in the bathtub is violet. And so you would step into the bathtub and you would make sure that your full body is submerged, including the emotional body, the sphere of light that's surrounding you. And you would stay there for about 5 to 7 minutes. You can even time it if you'd like. And as you're going through this detox, step 1 of the detox is actually allowing all the things to leave your body that no longer belong. So you may think of particular emotions that you want to let go, or you may just feel, or you may just make a general declaration, like all of my negative emotions. I require all of my negative emotions to leave at this moment in time, or I ask all of my, toxic emotions to leave my body at this time. You can say something general like that, and then just imagine and watch as negativity, and usually negativity takes form of like dark smoke or dark gooey substance, like liquid substance. You would want to imagine that it is leaving through the pores in the surface of your emotional body. And as it gets inside of the tub with purple waters, it just disappears. The darkness just disappears. It becomes transmuted into the violet flame. It shifts into light energies. So that's step 1. Step 2 is doing the reverse, because remember, your emotional body is a sieve. A sieve is really good at receiving things and then giving things away, right? So it's the give and receive, the give and take. The balance, that is what keeps it balanced. That is what keeps it going. And so because you've just given something away, now you have created room inside of your body to also receive something that you need. Here, you can request something specific from the universe, such as, I would like to receive joy, or I would like to receive happiness, or peace and calm, or whatever it is. Or you can just, ask for the universe to reset your palette. Essentially, that would be equivalent of asking the universe to give you the blank canvas, give you the blank slate, so you can start from scratch as almost like a pristine newborn baby that hasn't been tarnished or hurt yet. And so then you would want to imagine magnetizing and absorbing all of the purple waters through all of the pores in your emotional body, and just allowing that energy to enter through and wash away, anything else that may remain inside of your emotional body that is still toxic or maybe not optimal. And then you would allow these purple waters to fill in your emotional body from within. And just stay here for as long as, you need to, for as long as it feels good. And then whenever you're ready, you feel free to hold on to the beautiful energies of the violet flame and just step out of the tub, and you would be good to go. Yeah, but very often, if you find yourself emotionally overwhelmed, if you find like there is a particular emotion or state that is coming for you that you feel is causing you to be stuck, or if there's something that happens where you're like, I'm not able to move beyond it, a little detox bath may be what you need. Most importantly, don't make yourself wrong for feeling the emotion. What makes the emotion stuck in our bodies is our active insistence on resisting it. So essentially, the more we resist a particular emotion, the longer it would stay in our body. And so, as hard as it may be to process the ocean of sorrow or the ocean of sadness, it is a lot harder to carry on with this ocean inside of you. Emotions are meant to float like water. They're meant to come and go, and you're not meant to hold on to them. Get really good at releasing. Get really good at letting go. And get really good at trusting that the universe has your back. Because if that's the case, you're truly invincible and nothing can truly hurt you. And of course, there are all of these practices that you can do on the energetic level to help yourself through trying emotional times. Let me know what you think of this video. Let me know if you try any practices. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope this was helpful. I'm giving you a big virtual hug, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!